And we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for the Meet the Curator event series. This series is made possible by the Harold S. Seabrook Charitable Trust and the Klein Family Foundation. I'm Chaney Jewell, the curator of the Arts and Science Center for Southeast Arkansas, and today I will be talking to artist Crystal Jennings. Crystal has tried just about every artistic medium there is, from painting to sculpting to detailed portrait work. Originally focused on fantasy art from her love of the genre, she now is working towards mastering highly realistic graphite portrait work. This is listed in her Arkansas Art Council bio, and I have to admit, I think that she has definitely mastered it. This year, Jennings won third place in ASC's annual Pine Bluff Art League exhibition with her graphite drawing, Strength of the Pack, and her works will be featured in the Bradbury Art Museum's exhibition Radius 1, which is opening tomorrow. So thank you so much, Crystal, for joining us.
You're welcome. And one small correction, the Bradbury exhibit is actually already open. It opened last Thursday, and then tomorrow I have another show opening at the Akansa Gallery in the Argenta District in Little Rock. And that show is called Drawn. It's all about, it features artists that draw. So I'm excited about that opening tomorrow.
Wonderful. Well, that's exciting, and I'll be sure to attend all of those, all of the exhibitions, and I encourage all of our viewers to attend as well, of course, safely with masks on, social distance, people.
Yes, yeah. It's where the gallery is in Argenta on Main Street. They actually block off the entire street, and the restaurants in the area bring tents outside. So it's like an outdoor dining district, and you can walk around social distancing with your mask on, have fun, eat and drink, and the gallery will have a tent set up outside, so you can still go and visit the gallery at the tent. So come out, it will be really, really a great show.
Wonderful, that sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into questions. So Crystal, just let's have an introduction to you, your art. So where are you from? Were you raised very involved in art, and just kind of give people a background of you and your education?
Sure, I am actually a Pine Bluff, Arkansas native. I was born right here in Pine Bluff. We did not stay very long when I was younger. My dad's job moved us around quite often. So I eventually ended up in Chicago, and I went to Columbia College Chicago, a liberal arts school. I have a BFA in art and design. So I did go to art school, but my concentration was in graphic design. And I would really consider myself to be a self-taught artist as far as the technical skills of what I do goes. And eventually I ended up back here in Pine Bluff.
So, wonderful. So how did you choose your medium of art? Just by the bios that I've read about you, it seems like you really have explored, as you say, all of the mediums that you possibly could, but you really zeroed in on realistic drawings with charcoal and graphite. So what made you choose that medium out of all the other ones that you've tried?
Right. Basically, it comes down to it's what I love the most out of everything that I've ever tried. You know, I was not raised around artists, but my parents encouraged whatever I would want to do. So I started off loving to draw just as a kid. And I would say I've always been into black and white artwork. I don't remember coloring with crayons very much. I always just wanted to draw with a pencil. So I think that just naturally developed over time, and I got drawn to it. I do enjoy watercolor. If I paint, it's with watercolor. But I really prefer the level of detail that you can get with just a simple pencil or piece of charcoal. And there's something you know, maybe a little more mysterious to artwork that's made in grayscale, because I feel like the color is not there in your face, and you have to really sort of look over and pay attention to the artwork more. So I'm just very drawn to the detail of graphite.
Mhm. I can definitely see that just in terms of observing your artwork. I've noticed a lot more textures. The amount of texture that you can put into a sheet of paper just using graphite is just astounding. And I've dabbled a little bit in charcoal, and I've seen done with hair and smoke textures. Wow.
Yeah,
So impressive.
I love charcoal. That to me, there's a whole nother level of being able to have an atmosphere in your work when you work with charcoal. Like you said, there's a smokiness. It's really easy to get some incredible texture with charcoal. So as I work more and more, I'm actually kind of gravitating a lot to charcoal work. Not that I will ever leave just a plain graphite pencil, but charcoal is a really amazing art form.
Mhm. I agree completely. So, what is your process of art making? Do you have any rituals? Is there a set space that you like to be in? Is there a state of mind that you like to be in? Are you a night owl, morning drawer? Just walk us through your process.
Well, I have two children, so I work when I am able to work around their needs. So usually first I start out with an idea in my head. I might have a very specific drawing that I want to do that I think about, for a year or more before I ever get started. And I'm not very much of a sketcher. I do not keep a sketchbook. My sketchbook just kind of lives in my head. And so when I decide, yes, this is the drawing I want to start working on, I take a reference photo.
Mhm.
So you probably noticed almost all of my portrait work is a young girl, and that's my daughter. Um, I use her because of the availability of her being here as my model. And usually I need a very specific pose. I need a specific facial expression. So I'm able to use my children as my models to get what I want to end up being in my drawing. So, we'll start with my idea, and then I'll take several reference photos and then go from there. And as far as a ritual goes, like I said, I work when I can around my children. Usually that is kind of early in the morning, but not during the nighttime. But I need coffee always to be drawing, and I listen to podcasts to
Oh,
draw.
do you
So
have any favorite working podcasts?
I listen to a lot of kind of stranger podcasts. And I do listen to some art podcasts.
Oh,
Um, there's a few escaping my mind as far as the art podcasts go, but for an artist wanting to get advice on the business side of art, that's a great place to look, is to just search for some artist podcasts. You can get good advice. But I like, you know, mystery podcasts, unexplained mysteries. I like one called Astonishing Legends, which is just kind of stories that get my mind, sort of off of the realistic stuff, and I'm able to work creatively.
absolutely. And you are really interested in fantasy genres, it just seems in general, and also in your work. So, whenever you are using your daughters as subject matters, are you still trying to transport them into that sort of fantasy environment?
Yes, I think because that's what I am inclined to do. Um, all of my work has a really specific meaning to myself because I use my children. But when a viewer looks at my work, I want them to take a moment and pause and look over all of the details in my artwork and kind of come up with their own story about what's going on, who is the person, why is she looking this way? Just a sense of having to use your imagination to discover what's going on in my artwork. So I am definitely drawn to the fantasy genre. When I was younger, I sold a lot of real fantasy artwork. I was into fairies and mermaids and things like that quite a while ago. So that was definitely a more fun genre of art that I was into.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I can definitely see that. I think of your artwork as, yes, sort of being fantastical. Let me see if I can pull up, let's share with the audience some pictures. Here we go. Okay, and we're gonna, yeah, so just so everyone can get a good view of your work, and if you want to kind of describe your images, feel free.
Sure. So I think you can tell this is a really large drawing that I was working on. I mean, it's about like 3 by 4 feet. And this was kind of just a challenge to myself to see how big I could start going with my drawings. This is the first drawing that was ever anywhere near this big that I had worked on. And I really enjoyed it. I'm planning my next drawings are going to be really, really huge ones like this. So
do you think you now prefer the larger scale? Do you think it allows you more detail?
Yes, I much prefer drawing large. I can get so much detail, and it's just much more enjoyable for me. I enjoy putting in as much detail as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just looking at the image, from the detail that you put in the reflection in the irises to the pores and her skin texture, just the level of detail in this is incredible. So let's see what we have next. Here we go. So we don't cover up your face.
Yeah, this is a portrait that will be featured in the Drawn show that opens tomorrow in Argenta. This drawing is all charcoal. It's black charcoal and white charcoal. One thing with the charcoal is I've been trying to get slightly more impressionistic in some of my drawings. You know, I am not a painter, I am a drawer, and I love impressionism. So I'm just starting to try to incorporate a little bit of that into some of my drawings. And that's, I think, a little more of what I did here with the hair and the movement of the portrait.
Sorry, there we go.
That's okay. Yes, there we go. And it's called liminality because I'm not sure if many are familiar with the term of liminal space, but liminal space is a place of waiting and being stuck. And it's sort of, you are changing from one place to another and just waiting. So I feel like, you know, the world is stuck in liminal space at this point in time. So that was kind of influencing me on some of my more recent drawings, is just waiting for time to go by.
I agree completely. I think a lot of people feel that way. So I'm guessing you made this at this point during COVID.
Yes, yes. This is actually my most recent portrait that I've completed.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like, especially since you do talk about your kids and how much they affect your work, did you find your work environment and what you created and the time frame and sort of your mental space affected by COVID, since obviously school was canceled and they were at home more?
Yeah, so I don't know if everyone else has felt this way, but for me, this time has felt like I came home one day in March and it's just been the same day for the last several months. It's like one long day that will not end because every day is the same. You know, my children aren't leaving the house. My husband does not leave the house. I don't leave the house. So I have been creative during this time, but I think for myself personally, it's been a little more difficult. Just trying to focus on my goals for what I've been wanting to get done and create. So, you know, having things, deadlines of having upcoming shows and exhibitions and things like that have helped me be forced to get things done and finalized. So it's been okay, but I think the pandemic has affected everyone and affected artists very heavily in all different ways.
Yes, yes, I agree completely. And you just described a really amazing evening tomorrow. So I really hope that you and your husband treat yourself to a date and a nice dinner.
Yes, yeah, we're gonna go out to the gallery and let me plug my show again kind of quickly. It's called Drawn. It's in the Kansas Gallery in the Argenta district, and it features myself, an artist from Northwest Arkansas named Jennifer Smay, and an artist, I believe she's from the Little Rock area, named Marty Justice. And we all work in drawing. So, I usually the painters get all the credit, but this show is about the drawers. So I hope everyone can come out and see it.
Good. I'm glad to hear that you guys are getting your much needed and deserved attention. And sadly, your works, 2 works featured in our Pine Bluff Art League annual exhibition at the Arts and Science Center. It was sadly taken down last Saturday, so you can't view her work in person at the Arts and Science Center. But please, I encourage you to go to Argenta. And also, we do have up our virtual exhibition online. You can go to www.asc701.org and click on the virtual exhibitions tab to view those. And so here we go. 3rd place, Crystal Jennings and your work, Strength of the Pack in Graphite, which our juror, Tom Richards, was just ever complimentary of the amount of detail that you were able to put in this work. So I am really curious about this work in particular. What drew you to the comparison of, I'm guessing this is your daughter again, and having that juxtaposition of the wolf head in your daughter's face?
Yeah, there's a lot behind this drawing. This is another one that I've kind of had an idea in my head for a really long time. So I have a very large imagination, obviously, and I equate a lot of people to animals, either from behavior, personality, whatever it may be. And my youngest daughter, to me, she is like a wolf. And this drawing, I think it's clear that it's not a headdress. It's the wolf is part of the girl. And the girl is sort of part of the wolf. And that's why I named it Strength of the Pack, which is actually a Rudyard Kipling quote. Because her personality and spirit is fierce and strong and wild like the wolf. So that's the story behind that drawing.
That's gorgeous. That brings me into my next question. So whenever you have visitors, people who appreciate your artwork and want to view it, and they walk up, they approach your work, is there any intended meaning that you hope people walk away knowing, or an emotion, sense of feeling?
Yeah, the sense of feeling would be kind of maybe wonder. I'm trying to instill in people wonder. We're constantly bombarded by what's going on in the world around us through social media, the TV, news, if you can even bear to watch it anymore. And so when people look at my artwork, I want them to go away from that just for a minute and try to figure out what's going on in the drawing. I want them to capture the details, and just have a sense of imagination about them. I've always really kind of struggled at giving a term to my genre of artwork that I do now. It's not really fantasy. It's not necessarily portraiture. It's not just figurative art. And then somewhere I saw the term imaginative realism. And I think that that describes my artwork perfectly. So I'm focused on being creative and the imagination, which is what I want people to feel when they look at my drawings.
Mhm. That's wonderful. So have you seen your art change over the period of since you began practicing it from um, your sort of style as well as your attitude or sort of your genre? How have you seen that evolve and what is your thought process moving forward?
Yeah, it's, I've dabbled in art my entire life, mostly focusing on drawing because it's what I love to do.
Mhm.
So I went to school for graphic design. Once I graduated, I worked for a digital magazine company as their graphic designer for about 5 years. During that time, I would sell a little bit of my fantasy art because that's what I was very into at a time. Not really doing portraiture very much. I used to do a few commissions and things like that of portraits. And then eventually I had a baby and I wanted to be able to work at home and stay with her. So I started a hand painted wedding stationery business. And so that was kind of an amalgamation of my education being in graphic design and also my love of art because I got to paint every day. And I did that for about 10 years and it kept me extremely busy. So during that time, I was unable to make the art that I really wanted to. I was not able to do my portraiture or really any drawing at all. Um, so now I have kind of retired that business and I am focusing on my artwork. So it's kind of been a long journey to get myself here, but that's the roundabout way of where I am. And going into the future, I am still always trying to develop my skill. I think with every drawing I do, it changes a little and just like I'm moving towards charcoal and maybe slightly being more impressionistic and having more movement in my drawings. I always have, goals of the levels of skill that I want to reach.
Mhm.
And I want to be able to show my work and share. And I'm also very interested in being able to teach a little bit. So I'm hoping in the future we'll be able to do that.
Wonderful. Yeah, that'd be super exciting. So are you wanting to teach maybe at the community college level, high school? What are you thinking?
You know, I enjoy kind of teaching adults, but I might be interested in doing children occasionally. I homeschool my own kids, so I'm used to that kind of teaching, but I don't know. I just have ideas about maybe offering workshops, lessons, things like that.
Yeah, that's incredibly exciting. And I think that, oftentimes in our education, it's very STEM focused and not very STEAM focused. So I think having that art in our lives, even those who are in the sciences and in mathematics, um, being able to be creative and put yourself out of a box is really helpful in all fields, in all stages of life, all jobs. So that is super exciting. Um, Wow, nice. So let's describe, you've been talking, you're in this space, you want to describe to our visitors sort of where you're at, and maybe no pressure at all, but if you can, like maybe tilt your camera this way and that so that we can see your space.
Sure. Okay, I am in my workspace. You can see behind me this giant piece of board. Since all of my drawings are so big, I usually work, vertically as opposed to on an art desk, because when you work on something large, your art can become warped in a way as you're working, because you're not doing straight on, you're looking down, and once you hold your artwork up, it's going to be out of proportion. So I work standing here, and I'm passionate about drawing, so I can stand here and listen to my podcast and draw for hours without realizing how much time has gone by. So that is my main workspace. I'll try to tilt my laptop a little bit. This is a very small portion of my art supplies here. When you focus on working with pencils and charcoal, you don't need a whole lot of space to keep your art supplies. But that's where I keep my most needed materials. And I'll try to tilt the other way, and I'll show the truth about my messy art desk, because we're just keeping it real here.
That's what the people want anyway.
There we go.
What mess.
Yeah, giant paint covered, charcoal dust covered art desk. I was getting ready, hanging a few things to go to the gallery. So that's my leftover stuff. And my sunroom has, I don't know, maybe like 30 or 40 plants in it. That's another thing. I love nature. I love plants. So that's also in my drawings. Usually is some form of nature, whether it's the plants or flowers or animals. So
I had to compliment your plant collection. They look very happy and healthy.
Yes, most of the time.
And just out of personal curiosity, just because I myself practicing art have had so much problem with this, how, especially with such a large piece, do you keep the back of your hand from turning black from graphite and charcoal? How do you manage that?
Well, you're never supposed to touch your drawings, because the oil from your fingers and hands will transfer, and you'll have fingerprints and smear marks and all of this kind of stuff. But I know if you're like me, you can't help but get in there and smudge a little with your hand, finger. But I try to not do that very much. When I work with charcoal, my hands are definitely a tool though. So you will see my entire hand will be covered in charcoal dust. But I actually have a really funny trick for my pencil drawings, because I find that you really will get a lot of horrible fingerprints on them. I cover my hand in an old like nylon stocking. So it's covered in a nylon stocking, and I can go along and draw, and your hand will not smudge your drawing. So you just cut finger holes here. This is a trick for all you pencil artists, and stick your hand in there like a glove, and it's nice and light and stretchy, so it doesn't hinder my drawing movement, but that way your pencil work won't get smeared all over the place.
That is genius. I've seen some people use the stick method, where they held up a stick and then they position.
I don't like that.
That's just too complicated. You need a hand.
Can't do it. And sometimes if I'm working on something smaller, it's very easy to work on top of a clean sheet of paper to lay your hand on. But since I work so large and I hang my stuff to work on, I can't really hold a sheet of paper up there. So that's how I thought of the nylon stocking type of thing.
But it's absolutely genius, and I'm sure that anyone listening who's an artist, their wheels are already churning up.
It's my kids' old types that don't quite hold up anymore. You just cut them apart.
That is genius. So, moving on to the next question. Okay, here we go. What inspires you? Are there any art trends, art movements, your family, just in general, the art world, your experiences as a child? What inspires you?
Yeah, there's a lot that inspires me. I think I get most of my ideas just from my love of things from when I was a child, kind of a lot of the fantasy stuff. Um, Now, obviously, my children inspire me incredibly. I think all kids are just inherently extremely creative individuals. So, as an artist, you can get ideas all day long just watching your kids grow and learn and play and the crazy things that they want to do. Um, as far as art trends, I try to stay up to date with what's going on locally in the art world. We have many, many extremely talented artists in Arkansas. Um, One of my personal favorites, and I just love her work, is Lisa Cranchfield. She's a figurative artist who makes these beautiful, uh, colorful paintings, I think mostly with watercolor, but she incorporates collage in her artwork, which I think is just really interesting. And I love her work.
I'll need to look into her work more. I don't think I've heard of her before, but let me see.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Pull up something for people. You said
Lisa Cranchfield. And I am not completely sure how to spell her last name. It's a C or a K.
Yes, okay, yeah, I have her pulled up. Let's see.
Yeah, I heard her
Pull
painting.
up her
Incredible.
website. Oh, here we go. Just so visitors can.
The way that she uses collage is very, very interesting.
Go.
Yes. Yeah, so all of that detail is actually paper that she cuts out and uses as the clothing on her paintings.
Wow, yeah, these are just absolutely gorgeous.
My two girls did a class with the museum school at the Arts Council this year over the summer, and one of their projects was to make a collage like this artist. So they got to look at her work and study it, and they really love her work as well.
And I see there's a little wolf bow tie here, so definitely a nod towards your art too.
Right, that is so cool. Yeah, she uses a lot of, I think tigers, and I love her work. I love it.
Absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much, and I hope that more people also look into her work.
Yeah.
So finally, well, we have a few more questions left. The one that I know that you're anticipating the most is there any advice you want to give to future artists, current artists that are hoping to boost their career? Do you have any special words that you'd like to give to them?
Definitely. First and foremost, learn and study your art form and the medium that you really love to work in. If you like pencil drawing, learn different techniques for pencil drawing and charcoal. If you like painting, figure out which painting you want to do, watercolor or acrylic or oil, and then study it and learn it and look at books and watch YouTube videos, learn and practice. And then also, I would suggest surrounding yourself with fellow artists and gaining their advice and experience. Being in the art world and trying to get noticed, other than learning the craft itself, can be a difficult thing. And other artists have great advice. You know what's going on around you. And that's one of the reasons why I joined the Pine Bluff Art League, was to be able to be around other artistic individuals. So the Art League is not just for artists, but it's for people who are art lovers. You can join, and we have meetings every month. Because of COVID, we're going to Zoom meetings. So you still get to have that discussion, you know, with your other artist friends every month. That's been working out well so far. And as the weather's cooling off, we're hoping to be able to start workshops outdoors where we can still learn something new about a different kind of art form and social distance and be safe and all of that, but still get to practice something. You know, we have guest artists come every month and give a demonstration. So you're always experiencing something new in art, and that's important to do as an artist. You know, don't get stuck with only one thing, try new things. So if you have artist friends and you join arts organizations and participate in the community as an artist, you will grow and gain knowledge. So I would suggest, you know, doing things like joining an art league. And if anyone in the Pine Bluff area is interested, you can just search Pine Bluff Art League on Facebook and we'll be the first ones to pop up there. So give it a try if you love art.
Yes, I agree completely. We've had such an amazing relationship with the Pine Bluff Art League, and it's been amazing working with you as an organization. And with having the Art and Science Center be able to host the annual exhibitions has just been absolutely amazing.
Yes, every year it's really great to be able to participate. It's a juried show, and the juror always selects, you know, some amazing artwork. We have a very talented pool of artists locally. And so, you know, if you're in the Art League, you do get the chance to participate in that show. And it's always beautiful, and the Arts and Science Center always does a wonderful job hosting the show. So that in itself is a great reason to, you know, join an organization. Mm-hmm. And also for artists, if I did not say practice, practice, practice what you want to do and do what you love to do. And, you know, art school can help.
So last question. You are an artist, you've dedicated so much time and effort into this. Why, out of all the fields, all of the jobs, everything that you could do with your time, why did you choose art? And what does it mean to you?
Well, it's, I don't know, I think the answer is probably the same for all people who end up going with a path in art. It's because you didn't have another choice. It's what you have to do. So, like I said, I'm extremely passionate about my artwork and drawing, and I also love sharing my artwork with people and with the community. And I've always done something artistic. So that's the only thing I can say is that I chose art because I had to in one form or another. I don't think that I can be, you know, confined to an office or things like that. It's just I had to figure out a way for my path to be an artistic one. So in the future, that's I'm planning on staying on that artistic path as much as possible.
That's wonderful to hear. I'm excited to see the different works that you make in the future and to see the new works that you submit into the Pine Bluff Art League annual exhibition and to have you again housed within our museum. Just for a little bit of closing, I'm going to bring it back to the PowerPoint. Oh, not the beginning. Here we go. Thank you so much for joining me for Meet the Curator. This was sponsored by the Harold S. Seabrook Charitable Trust and the Klein Family Foundation. Thank you so much, Crystal, for allowing me to talk to you and so that we could have visitors learn more about you, your work, your practice, and I hope that they can walk away appreciating your process and your work a little bit more. If you enjoyed this experience, if you have some suggestions for our future Meet the Curators, please take the time to fill out a survey of your experience. And that's at forms.gle, and then a bunch of letters and all of that, which I don't want to say in a long list, but I will post in the comments. So please fill out that form and we can try to improve on our future events, because we appreciate you so much for taking your time to learn more about artists and the Arts and Science Center. So thank you so much. And you guys,
Thank you, Chaney.
thank you. All right. And we're gonna, oops. And we're gonna call it a day. Oh, goodness.